In three, two, one. Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to another episode of the Conflict Management Show. We are an MMA show that covers the news, fights, and highlights going on in the world of combat sports. I am your co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Half Man, Half Amazing, the awkward, awesome one, Mr. Main Event, Malik Miles, here coming to you live, and my co-host.
The Oracle, the future Hall of Famer, the one namer. It's Edon, and we're back again. Gonna preview UFC 312 and let you know where we think this card's gonna go.
I am very excited for this card, for like this card slash. There's a couple of fights I'm more excited for because I feel like sometimes what happens with fight cards, right? When you get not every fight card can be a UFC Noche at the Sphere or a UFC Noche in general, right? Or a UFC 300. Sometimes, like last weekend, sometimes you'll see a card that looks pretty stacked and it could let you down a little, look to let you down a little softly, right? But then we get certain cards like this weekend's card, which is kind of more on the top heavy side, where the main event, co-main is like the draw, and some of the prelims main card fights are kind of like to the more casual fan might be like, don't know who these people are, even to some hardcore fans, even to might be like, where this one has very low expectations on like outside of the main event and co-main, where it could be a pleasant surprise. How you feeling overall?
Uh, I think that top to bottom, not looking like one of the stronger cards of this year for sure. I think that the the two title fights are kind of carrying this. I think there'll be
Absolutely.
excitement and knockouts and stuff, and I think this card will be received much better than last week's card because I think there'll be more finishes and people tend to associate that with a better card, um, even if it's not super high level stuff necessarily that's happening. But I think there will be finishes, and I think that going into this, there's a lot of downplaying this card, but I think going out of it, people will remember the finishes and say, "Ah, you know what? It was a good one."
Yeah. So where do you want to start on this card? Main event or co-main event?
I want to
Doesn't matter.
start
We
at
can go
the.
in any order.
I want to start at the co-main. So
I'm so happy you said that.
Zhang Weili Tatiana Suarez is a near pick'em fight, slight betting odds on Tatiana Suarez, and this one is going to be really close.
Yes. So I agree with you. This is even though this is the co-main event, this is my main event. I feel like this should be the people's main event, right? This is one of those fights where we're talking about female MMA, women's MMA at strawweight at the highest level, right? We're talking about Wei Li Zhang, right? Two-time strawweight champion. She's about to tie Hall of Famer Joanna Jacek's record of most title wins at six, right? She has a flashy, exciting style. Got that one punch knockout. Got that knockout power when she backhand. I think it was Joanna right there when she did that backhand and put her out. Right. She's doing the cartwheel. She's doing the flip. She's got great striking. Got good grappling. Got the jujitsu. Right. She even in the Amanda Lemos fight. Right. It was takedown after takedown, and she beat the brakes off her. Like she landed 300 strikes on the ground. Crazy work, right? She won Fighter of the Year. This is where the number two pound for pound best women, the number two best pound for pound fighter in the women's division in the UFC in general, regardless of the three divisions, right? And we're looking at the pound for pound best, I would say, arguably, I would like to go out on legends. She is the best women's strawweight of all time against someone who I've been big on, someone I've been a fan of. I've been a fan of both Weili and Tatiana Suarez, but this feels like a long time coming. This feels like the homecoming for Tatiana Suarez. So, for those who don't know, I have, oh, let me, before I say that, I have actually never been so excited and proud for a fellow wrestler than I have in a meaningful amount of time than I have been for Tatiana Suarez, right? We're talking 20, she was a Ultimate Fighter winner during 2016. Won that. She's undefeated at 11-0. On top of that, right? It's not the fact that she won the Ultimate Fighter, the hardest tournament in sports, right? It's not that she's won every single fight. It's not that she's undefeated. It's not that she's like a world-class women's wrestler, right? She has never lost a round at all. We're talking about Habib Nurmagomedov type stuff. We're talking John Jones level stuff, right? Like, even when we saw Habib, eventually, we saw Gaethje won around this, McGregor won around this. Tatiana Suarez has never lost a round, never lost a fight, and none of her fights have looked close. We're talking not a super flashy, kind of the opposite, not a super flashy style, but she got top tier wrestling. We're talking really like S tier level wrestling, whole lot of grit, whole lot of hands. And when you have someone like Tatiana Suarez, right? She's a rare commodity, right? To have a world-class wrestler like her, a world-class women's wrestler like her, who understands using the level changes are meant to like get in close, wrestle up around the body, and kind of go from there and work your takedowns. Essentially, she would be using that Greco-Roman wrestling style to kind of work by utilizing those trips, using her legs to pull her opponents to the ground, right? This is some high level stuff. This is some high level actually working on, because even the storyline bakes itself into it. She burst onto the scene, won the Ultimate Fighter, it going crazy. 2019, I remember people talking that like Tatiana Suarez was going to be champion for like by 2025. She was going to be champion for 3-4 years, right? By this time, right? She was on a run, like she was a force to be reckoned with. And then she had that really severe neck injury, and then after the neck injury, then after that is severe neck injury. Then she had the cancer diagnosis, which sidelined her in both situations. And then when she came back, people were kind of like, will she be as dominant as she was prior to her leaving? And she came back and was like, yo, I'm still that lady. Like, yo, know who I am. Do your Googles. And looked still dominant and looked phenomenal. And we got to see that happen. And I think this is the toughest stylistic matchup for Weili. Like I've said on previous shows that I've chosen Weili pretty much for all of her fights. And the only person I felt could beat Weili or be a really good matchup or be the person that could beat her is Tatiana Suarez or Lupe Godinez. Tatiana Suarez is here. This is her moment. She's overcome adversities. She's overcome the odds. She's overcome time itself. She is here. This is her moment. This is her moment to shine. I'm very excited for this. Tell me, partner, how are you? How are you feeling about this fight? Who do you have? Tell me you are as excited as this. Because if I was going to pick a name, to submit a name to defend as a wrestler, if I was going to pick a name to defend our the craft, like the wrestling, to defend our sport, I'm putting Tatiana Suarez's name down. She's just that good when it comes to wrestling. She is leagues and above. I'm very excited for her. Like I said, I have not been this excited / proud of a fellow wrestler in a meaningful amount of time until this moment right now.
Okay.
That's very long, but
I'm with you on a lot of things here. I was very excited back then for Tatiana Suarez. I'm still excited now for Tatiana Suarez. I love Whaley. Whaley is one of the best champions we've had, period. Super likable. It's great personality. Awesome. Everybody loves her. You can't hate Whaley, period. Uh, my concern with this fight, because if this fight was happening on paper and you just said, these are the fighters, these are their skill sets, who wins? I would have no problem taking Tatiana Suarez. My concern is, since her last win, she was scheduled to face Amanda Lemos in February of last year. But she withdrew because of an injury. And then she was going to fight again in December. And she withdrew from that fight because of an unspecified health issue. And now she's fighting for the title. I still think she could have fought for the title back then after her last victory. I just have concerns about back-to-back injuries since your last victory. And I don't think that Whaley is going to be easy to finish. Even though I think Tatiana will have a grappling advantage. So I think the longer this gets extended, the more it plays into Whaley. And I don't see Tatiana being able to finish Whaley. So I think because of that reason, I think once we enter the championship rounds, the cardio difference will start to show, and the lack of uh, not experience, because I mean Tatiana has enough fights. She doesn't have a ton of fights. She's 11-0. That's really not that many pro fights. But I think she's had the high level enough experience that she's not going to be overwhelmed by the moment. But I think when the championship rounds come and Whaley is still there, and we've seen the type of gas tank that Whaley has and how hard she can push it, I just think it's going to be a little too much, and we'll be sitting around thinking maybe Tatiana Suarez should have had another fight before she stepped to the title. So I'm thinking Whaley by decision, all 5 rounds.
you know, I can understand that. I think that I'm going Tatiana Suarez second round submission.
Okay.
The Because all week Tatiana Suarez has looked unflappable, right? Like all those points you brought up are valid points. Like, hey, you're going against the the goat for your division, right? Like the greatest women's fighter, the greatest women's strawweight ever, right? If we're keeping it super funky, and the number 2 pound for pound fighter, women's fighter in the UFC, only the one above her is Valentina. So you can imagine Wei Lee has not been a 2-time strawweight champion for no reason. She's on the third. Wei Lee's on her third title defense of this second run, right? One fighter of the year. You're not gonna just put her away. So quick, fast, and in a hurry. And the power of Wei Lee is something you also have to take into account, because she's got one punch knockout power. They call her Magnum. She's just bang. It could be over. One hitter quitter. Here's your hat. Where's your hurry? Right. However, I will say, because yes, Wei Lee can take a punch and a kick, and she is going to be coming with her A game. You know, the athleticism, the speed, the power, the condition, the fight IQ, like it's all there, right? She picked up former heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou like it was light work, just wild, right? So the strength of Weili, I think, will play a factor into this, and also the athleticism and the speed and the explosiveness of Weili. But all that, given all that, people bringing that up, being like, "Oh, she was the fighter of the year." Hey, she's tied for most title wins in strawweight history. Hey, she was a two-time champion. Hey, she's on her fourth title run. Hey, she about to do this. Hey, the power, the speed. She picked up Francis for funsies. Like, yo, da 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 da. Through all of that, Tatiana Suarez has been cool like the other side of the pillow. She's been unflappable during media interviews, during the press conference. She was even throwing out the Fuego takes and said she was going to choke Weili out in the first round. She was like, "Hey, I feel it. I'm a hit her with the 99 and kind of close up shop, close out the night." And you can feel the charisma, you can feel the confidence behind it. And hey, she has every right to be confident. She's never lost, like I said, she's never lost a fight, never lost a round, and none of her fights have been close. But she's not going against just anybody. She's going against the best, one of the best, right? And I think that while that will be a challenge, and I think it's probably going to be, this is my pick for fight of the night. I think it's going to be a back and forth war. I think it's for how long it lasts. I think it'll be an exciting fight. I think that I will say, like we said, all these beautiful things about Weili, right? Fighter of the year, this and that, all their compliments, all their accolades, all the nice things, right? Clearly, Weili has a striking advantage, right? Tatiana has a wrestling advantage. But I think this is not a surface level striker versus grappler match. You're talking about two of the best women in the division and like the going at it. And if Rose was able to keep down Weili, right? If Rose was able to keep down Weili, like I believe it was the second round, right? And she's nowhere near the wrestler Tatiana is, right? So if Tatiana can take her down and keep her there, I think it's going to be a long night for the champion. I think that if she can kind of implement the styles that she's had up until now, setting up her takedowns by getting in there with her jabs, the straights, setting up her takedowns with the strikes and going pop 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 pop, boom, shooting and trying to go for those getting those lace levels, like kind of getting her down, right? Boom. I think that, and if she can hold her down, I think because Tatiana is strong for the division as well, right? I think if she can get kind of like work in her strikes to get like working her takedowns into her strikes and get her on the ground and hold her down, because if Rose was able to do it, I think Tatiana should definitely be able to do it. I think she can do that. It may be a long night or a short night, right? But Weili has been working on kind of preventing that, I guess, knowing that the battle she's going to be in for. She's been in Thailand wrestling dudes to kind of prepare herself for it. But I don't know if she's ready for for the storm that's about to be sweeping through Australia for UFC 312. I'm very excited for this. I think this is gonna be a phenomenal fight. And if it doesn't go into if it goes into the championship rounds, hey, I'm all here for it because I think we're about to get a barn burner of a fight. It's gonna be a great time. I am very much here for this.
You want to move on to the main event?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'll let you bring it in.
Okay. So main event: Dricus du Plessis, Sean Strickland, the rematch of the ultra close fight, which went to split decision and crowned Dricus as the undisputed champion of the middleweight division. And I personally had Sean winning that fight the first time.
I did too.
I think he narrowly edged it. So we're running it back, and this time Dricus is a minus 220 favorite over a guy that most people would say he narrowly lost to in the first fight. So that might sound crazy, but I am also taking Dricus du Plessis, and here's why. I think it might have been Chris Curtis who said this before, that the first time you come up against Sean's style, you don't know what to make of it. It's the most difficult time that you'll have with that style is the first time you see it. So I think Dricus will have some idea of what that's like and how awkward that is. And he did have success with it for at least 2 rounds, in my opinion, in the first fight. So if he does a little bit better from it, it's not that far a stretch to say that he can get a third. The other reason, well, there's 2 more reasons I'm taking Dricus. The other reasons are, one, Dricus has fight-changing power that Sean doesn't. So he has that X factor, that something special, that interesting thing that usually champions have. And for Dricus, it's his power. And the third reason that I'm taking Dricus is I don't think Sean can change his style. I don't think that he can adopt a heavy grappling approach. I don't think that he's going to implement his game plan, because there were a ton of times on the come up before he was champion where he would openly admit that his coach Eric Nixick made a great game plan that he thought would really work. But once he got into the fight, he just threw it away and did what he wanted to do. So I think that Eric Nixick is one of the best coaches in the business. I think that he'll have Sean completely prepared and with a really good game plan. Will Sean follow that? I don't know. And if I'm sitting and parting with my money on a bet, or if I'm just taking picks for the pride, I don't want to bet on the guy who I don't know if he's going to follow his awesome coach's advice. So for all those reasons, I think Dricus du Plessis, and I think that he's going to finish Sean in this one. I think it'll be 4th round TKO.
You see, let's talk about it. As you know, I've been fairly critical of Dricus du Plessis up until this point. and I've just about picked Dricus. I've just about picked against Dricus every single time he's been fighting, and have been wrong every single time. Because here's the thing. Dricus' style. Dricus has a very awkward, ugly. His very awkward and ugly stance. It's very non-technical. Like the striking is off, the rhythm is off. Like, you know what I mean? Where it's like the movement is weird. Like the rhythm is awkward. It feels like the punches are off too. You know what I mean? Where he will throw a looping hook with no expectations of hitting you, just to mess up your rhythm and make you reset. He will throw these shots, and if it hits you, great. But it's mainly as like a nah. You're not just about to just walk in here and implement your game plan. So if you come in and you try to like close the distance, he will just, and he's a strong dude. Dricus is very strong. And he knows that, and he will just throw these looping hooks and just swing at air just to keep you honest and let you know, like, hey, you can't just walk in here and just, without taking some risk. So it messes up your rhythm and makes people have to reset, right? But then when you see him, but it's so effective for him. That style, even though it's very ugly, it's very awkward, feels uncoordinated and clunky, but it is so very effective for him. And that's all that matters, despite everything I just said. Toss that all out the window because it only needs to work for you. It only needs to work for him. And it has worked for him because you don't finish two of the three best middleweights of all time if your style wasn't effective, if you're not good. You know what I mean? For all the awkwardness, for all the uncoordinated clunkiness, all the awkwardness, he still finished Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker. Who can say that? You know what I mean? Like, the three best middleweights of all time is Anderson Silva, Israel Adesanya, and Robert Whittaker. And DDP has finished two of those three. And the only reason he can't fight the first one is because he's already retired. When you see Dricus fight, like Dricus' style, I feel like the best analogy for it is for Dricus' style is melted ice cream. Melting ice cream. Not melted. Melting ice cream on a cone. That is the perfect way to describe Dricus' style. Because when you're seeing ice cream melt on melting an ice cream cone, there's a lot to be desired. And it doesn't look super great. It doesn't look like much, right? You're like, eh. But good ice cream, melted or not, is still good ice cream. Ice cream's
This is a
not
total
good
side
either
tangent,
way. Huh?
but my brain's connecting these two things, so I'm going to follow it. Have you ever had from Dairy Queen a vanilla cone dipped in chocolate?
Absolutely.
First of all, let me just say, one of the great treats of all time. Second of all, if you have it on too warm a night and you're a kid and you don't know how to manage your ice cream, that is going to end up all over your hand and your wrist and your forearm because it starts to leak out the bottom seal between the chocolate and and it just gets all over you. But you don't really care. You're just trying to make sure like you don't get it on any of your clothes so your parents won't get mad at you. But,
yeah, or get it on the car seat,
oh yeah,
or
for
in
sure. They're
the
gonna be
floor.
mad if you drop the chocolate or or like if you're not like eating carefully or like you didn't get like a bowl or something from the drive-through.
Yeah, they're gonna be big mad if that gets on in the car.
Yeah.
That is Dricus' style. It does not look very pretty. Like when you think about, and I think it's because it looks so unconventional, right? Where you have certain guys like a Cyril Gane, right? An Israel Adesanya, a John Jones. I think I said Alex Pereira already, and Ilia Topuria, right? Like Max, guys who have very technical, very smooth technical striking. You know what I mean? Like it's very elegant, if you say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how they strike, it's the sweet science. It looks very like, man, that looks phenomenal. Like that looked just so effortless and so swift and da 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 da. You know what I mean? You'll see them move and like it looks like a work of art, right? If the striking of a Cyril Gane, of an Izzy, of an Alex, of a like Topuria is like seeing like Rembrandt or like a Monet painting or like Van Gogh, right? Dricus is the third grade kid. No, is the first grade kid who just kindergarten kid who's learning how to paint for the first time and is just like colors. Forget the line. Hey, colors. We improvising. Lines. Who needs them? We coloring in and out of the lines. We going off of vibes, man. And that's how it feels. And when you have a little cousin, you have a kid, you have a whoever give you that kindergarten painting, you're gonna be like, man, appreciate you. Thank you for this wonderful piece of art, right? If someone gives you a Rembrandt or like a Van Gogh, you're gonna be like, thank you for this piece of art. They're still art both are still art at the end of the day. And all that to say, that is as much as it may not look conventional, right? And it is different from what we're used to. It's like I said, very effective for who Drickus is and like what style he is. He just has that dog in him because he'd be dead tired and just swinging. And what on like a he has eight first round finishes if I'm not mistaken. He's on a 10-fight win streak. This is his second title defense. It's all clicking. I don't know. I feel like he did come out, and I think he did get a little sensitive about people saying that like his style is not like pretty, right? Or not as clean looking as a Cyril or an Alex or an Izzy. But then I was like, bro, you can't get mad to people about your own style. However, that's another point for another time. But he was saying that his style is something on purpose. Like it's clunky and awkward and ugly on purpose, which I don't know how much I believe. Maybe you're just learning drunken man kung fu, right? And you're just really like, hey man, this is all a part of the vibes and like what it's meant to be. Okay, like hey, he says his coach and him came up with a plan and it was meant to deal with all the elite strikers and elite grapplers, right? And this is all a part of the grand plan, right? And it sounds like chat. It sounds like, oh, you just chatting. But the proof is in the pudding. I feel like the results speak for themselves. Has he dealt with elite strikers? Yeah. Has he won against elite strikers? Yeah. But so we'll see, because a lot of people who fight him says he's a lot stronger and a lot faster than like how it looks like on tape. That being said, Strickland on the other side, even though he has this like mano y mano, let's go toe to toe, blow for blow, and just duke it out in the middle of this cage, gladiator style. He is actually, even though he has that mentality, and has very brash, no filter personality, you would imagine someone like that isn't super technically sound, but he is actually one of the most technically sound fighters on the roster, if not like at middleweight, if not the entire roster. He has some of the highest defensive stats, and like even at middleweight for sure, but like in almost I think the roster, right, where it's very hard to hit Sean Strickland clean. You know what I mean? He has that Philly shell. He's kind of like hiding behind that shoulder, right? It's like you may get a lot shoulder shot. You know, you might get like here and here. Like him and Chris Curtis, we've mentioned this before, have a very similar style. Where I think what makes it hard to fight, like you said, makes it hard to fight Sean Strickland is that, as we've talked about it before, where, and I think a lot of people have, where it's Sean Strickland has like three moves. It's like the arcade Virtual Fighter 5, the Dead or Alive. He got a 1-2 and a teep kick. And he's won a championship off that, because what happens with Sean Strickland is he may not have knockout power, he usually overwhelms people with volume and pressure, but then by controlling the space, he can control the fight. Because while a lot of people will stay out of range and then kind of like get in, and then like land their strikes and then get out of range, Sean Strickland stands right at the edge of the like firing range. I guess for lack of better words, right outside of the combat zone, right outside of the striking range, where he doesn't allow either of you to like have that moment to like get out, reset, do some things, go in, like he's staying right outside of the range, and then when he comes, and he'll just come forward and inch forward, inch forward, inch forward, and keep throwing shots, inch forward. So it makes his opponents make you feel very uncomfortable. You can't like or get back, kind of reset, throw your hands where you're always in the danger, but like he's always defending, So it's like and so when people do come forward, he's either going to keep you with that kick and kind of keep you away, or just because of his really good reflexes, just kind of like moving out of the way and dip, dodge, and duck. Have you ever seen the dodgeball movie? You know what I'm talking about. Oh, what is it? Dip, dodge, and evade. And he threw that like wrench.
Dip, dodge, duck, dive, and dodge.
Exactly. And Strong Strickland is also a former middleweight champion. And I think that going into it, I think he didn't care about the belt prior during his first title run, right?
Mm.
But I think that after losing it, he saw like like the life it affords you, right?
Mm.
Him and his girl and like the people he cares about, and you want that belt back, and he's been on a path since then to like reclaim that belt. And I think this is his time. I think this is his moment. I had Strickland winning that fight. It was a close fight last time. It was a very close fight, but I had Sean Strickland winning by split decision. I think that Sean Strickland wins again this week. I think he will win on Saturday. I think when the fights come, I think he will win. As far as how much is it going to change, I don't know how much Strickland's. I don't. How can I say this? I don't see how much both Dricus and Strickland are going to change their fight style because of how close it was as a fight. I don't see them changing up their game plan like a whole lot, right? Like Dricus is not going to all of a sudden be a like have like a well like and this well technical, crisp, clean striking. He's not gonna go from like melted ice cream to like Cold Stone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna go from melted Dairy Queen ice cream to Cold Stone. And Sean is not gonna go from like Philly shell to a long guard. You know what I mean? Even though I think it would help because you start to see some of those shots getting through. It's who he is. He has a Philly shell. He's not gonna just sit there and just kind of like, huh, you know what I mean? So it's tough. I've been wrong every single time on a Dricus fight. Usually, Malstradamus. I've been knowing how to pick these fights. Works. I feel like these picks work 80% of the time, 50% of the time. The right 80%, 50% of the time. However, I'm gonna keep the trend alive, and I'm gonna pick Strickland. Will I potentially be wrong a fifth time? Who knows? But I will say I did, even though I have chose against him every time. I did say that I will say I did tell people, I did say that even though he looks tired in his fight, once I figured out he was fighting with one nostril, I was like, yo, I feel like once he gets fixes his nose situation, he's gonna be a lot better. And we've seen that he has been a lot better. He's a good fighter. He's a really good fighter. You don't become champion otherwise. But I don't know. I think that I think Sean Strickland gets it done. Not a fan of the mustache this week, but
okay. Are you also
I
going by decision or are you going by finish?
I think he gets it done. I think a 5th round decision.
Okay.
That's that. I think that's what I'm gonna say because Sean's not known for knocking people out.
Yeah.
And I think they're good. I think he's really locked in on getting that title. So I think he rallies back. I think that we're gonna have a super tough, really close fight.
Okay. I don't know
If
about you.
Dricus wins again, I may have to actually go for him in his sixth fight. In the next fight, I might actually have to go for him in the next fight if he pulls this one off. I feel like if he's fighting Hamza, I may have to. That's gonna be a tough one because I feel like common sense says Hamza, but maybe after looking at Dricus fight for so long, I've had to like kind of relook at how I analyze fights, how I like look at the fights and break them down. Because when you look at Dricus fight, everything he does on paper looks like it shouldn't work. Like
Well, look,
literally
up
everything
until
Dricus.
up until the Whitaker win, I was full of doubts, and
Same.
I was still like, he still looks tired. Like how I don't think that he has the gas tank for this, but he keeps proving me wrong. So it's I'm flipping on this one. I'm gonna go DDP. And there's one more fight that I want to talk about on this. If you want to pick the whole main card, I will. But to me, there's one more fight that's on this card that's worth talking about in advance. And that is the third from the top, Justin Tafa versus Tarleson Teixeira. And I just wanted to bring this up because we've been talking about heavyweight and how light it is on talent for the last like few months at least. We've been talking about it. We've been addressing it. And Teixeira is 6'7", 263 pounds, 25 years old, 83
Big
entry,
boy.
and he's making his UFC debut. He was on Contender Series before, but this will be his UFC debut, and he's fighting Justin Tafa. Got the hometown crowd, but Justin Tafa is 7 inches shorter and has a 9-inch lesser reach than Teixeira. So I'm thinking this is a big splash spot for Teixeira to go into Tafa's house, show up as the big lumbering giant that he is, get a big KO, and announce himself as the next UFC heavyweight, like prodigy, little like not quite yet a butterfly, but like a caterpillar.
Yeah, I think that because Tafa's Samoan, right?
I think he's
Or Polynesian?
yeah. I mean, I don't know what technically the like natives of Australia are called, but I think he's that.
The I see. I want Justin Tafa to win because I'm like the times he's won. I enjoy like the Tafa brothers. I enjoy watching them fight. I do, and that would be pretty cool to see. Like, hey, like a real David and Goliath type situation. Hey, the guy's 6'7", you're 7 feet shorter than him, 7 inches shorter, and then you have like a crazy knockout. That would be great. But I think for the future of heavyweight, this does sound interesting. 6'7", and what was the other stats you gave?
He has an 83-inch reach.
That is insane. 6'7", 83-inch range, UFC debut. I think that this, if he beats him and it looks amazing, we may have maybe our fourth person in this like round robin kind of like in this 3-man tournament that's going on at the top of heavyweight and kind of help build out the division more because you know I think that's a lot to ask for 5 guys to keep the lights on for the entire division. So if we can add a 6, and then
Yeah,
if Jailton Almeida continues to like show promise, hey, we may have something going. So I think, man, that you know what? Who do I go for? Let's bet on the new guy.
yeah.
I mean, like not physically bet, but I'm gonna go for the new guy. You're hyping him up. Yeah. Do I go for the OG? Yeah, let's go for the new guy. Let's bet on the underdog, right?
Yeah, and like we said, look, This division needs new blood.
Yeah.
We've been saying it. He's 25 years old. He's a giant. This is a good opportunity against a guy who's 7-4 to come in high up on a card. You got good placement. I don't know. I'd have to go back. The problem is with the lag between Contender Series and when these guys actually make their debut. It's hard to remember them unless you go back and watch the Contender Series fights. So I don't remember if his English is great or whatever, but hopefully big knockout, get some personality on the microphone, and we got a new young challenger who's starting at the back, but announcing himself and making it known that he's on his way to the Cyril Gans and Tom Aspinalls of the world.
Man, I'm really hoping he does. He has a personality, has that charisma. Because if he has a phenomenal win, and he can get on the mic and talk, oh man, I agree with you. I think we'll have a new rising prospect on our hands that could contend with those guys at the top. But I'm hoping he doesn't say the usual, man, I'm here to fight anybody. I don't care. I'll fight anybody and anybody. I'd be like, while I appreciate the tough guy sentiment, that's literally the worst thing you can say on the microphone. Because I know how it's meant to come over. It's meant to be like, hey, I'm down to fight anyone and everyone. Anyone the smoke can get the smoke. Full on chimney. You know what I mean? But the way it comes is received is, I don't care. And to think of anything creative.
Hopefully it's if he's not a good talker, hopefully they do like an Andre the Giant gimmick with him, because 6'7" is ridiculous. But it's yeah, that's just the last one I wanted to mention. I think the other ones, we'll see if they can announce themselves. We don't have to cover them until they do something.
I actually have two that if that's okay. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually have two that I was gonna cover really briefly. On the prelims, Wang Kong versus Bruno Brazil. Wang Kong is the 6-1, the one girl that came from the kickboxing world, the only other woman, the one of 3 women to ever beat Valentina Shevchenko, and I think it was by like TKO or KO the last time, wherever it was. The Chinese girl who like knocked out that girl with that crazy hook.
Did you watch the weigh-ins, and did she do the Joker makeup again?
I didn't get to see the weigh-in show. I'm about to watch it, so I didn't get to see it. So I think that will be later on, like maybe tomorrow morning. Is like, so she's fighting. I think she had a very dominant first win, and it sounded like they were gonna fast track her like they did with Alex, since she has that kind of storyline with Valentina. Only people to ever beat Valentina Shevchenko is my girl Alexa Grasso, this Wang Kong, and Amanda Nunes. I feel like that's a storyline built in there. So she had a very dominant first fight. Second fight, she was winning that fight and got overconfident and kind of like underestimated her opponent, and then got finished and got choked out. But I would like to see her win this fight, and then I would like to see a Valentina versus her fight eventually at some point. Then the last one, opening up the prelims, Kobe Thickness, that is his name, and Alexandre Topuria. The reason why I find this fight interesting is Alexandre Topuria is the, if I'm not mistaken, younger brother of featherweight champion Ilia Topuria. And Ilia said in interviews that for as phenomenal as he is, because in 2024 he finished 2 of the 3 best featherweights of all. He knocked out, TKO 2 of the 3 best featherweights of all time in their prime, and then followed up and said he's not the actual best person in his family, like the best fighter in his family. That's the crazy part. This dude is on a phenomenal run. He goes, ah, man, and y'all think I'm good. I'm not even half as good as, I'm not even the best fighter in my family. So Alexandre Topuria is coming into a lot of hype because when I heard that, I was like, oh, this dude must be official, man. And Topuria, as good as he is, said, oh, man, I'm not even the best one in the family. Y'all should check out the other people. Hey, let's see if he's as good as advertised. And then
Also,
Kobe Thickness.
just a quick note on that one. I did look at it. Alexandre is 1 year older.
Oh, the older brother of Ilia Topuria.
Yes,
My
by
bad.
1 year.
Okay. But still, the point stands that he said he, for as phenomenal as Ilia Topuria is, he said he's not even the best fighter in his family.
I know, but
So
that
for
is
this
something
dude,
that younger brothers do for older brothers. They do just say that sometimes.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
that, yeah, but he's 5-1. Like, hey, let's see if, because I feel like he hyped him up because Ilya didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Let's hope
He
this
didn't
is
have
not
to,
a
but
like a
it
Herbert
is
Burns situation.
it is a little bit if you only have one older brother and
Mhm.
like you're tight with him, it is a little bit like younger brother code that like you always put over your older brother.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I understand that. It's like I think that yeah, that's true. I understand that. It's like, but I think that I'm very curious, right? I'm very curious about this because if he is as good as advertised, man, we may have another Diaz brothers situation going on because usually the siblings we've seen in recent years, usually the sibling of a famous fighter isn't usually that has 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 turned out to be a bust, right? I'm hoping
Yeah.
this is not another Herbert Burns situation. Because Herbert Burns came with a lot of hype due to Gilbert and kind of fizzled out. Uh, Muhammad Usman came with a lot of hype due to his brother Kamaru and kind of like fizzled out. The Taffa brothers are both good fighters, but I think this has potential to be like um,
Well,
really dope.
that leads me to the question: is there a thickness brother?
So Kobe Thickness, the person who will be in his corner, I don't know if there is a Thickness brother. However, the mystery person that will be cornering him across from Ilya is the consensus featherweight GOAT, Alexander Volkanovski, because Kobe Thickness, fun fact, has been the training partner, if I'm not mistaken, for Volkanovski for like ever, or they've been training together since he was like 16 or something. So I'm not sure if this is like if I'm not mistaken, this is like a protege type situation.
Hmm.
So Ilya Taporia is going to be backing up his guy. Alexander Volkanovski is going to be backing up his guy. And that's how we're going to start off the prelim. So that's all I wanted to say. I think this is going to be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to this. So fingers crossed that we get a better card than last weekend or a good card in general. That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, that is all I wanted to say. And if you want to hit that music now, yeah, we vibing. Okay, cool. That's our song. That's our show. We really appreciate you guys coming in. Oh, actually, sorry. Rewind. Sorry, one last time. If you could pause the music,
Oh,
we can't forget this.
important
Oh,
notes.
like we said,
Important
sorry,
notes.
like we said, we can't end the episode without doing this because we mentioned because it's February and it's Black History Month.
Oh
We're
yeah.
gonna be recognizing notable Black fighters who have made an impact on our sport that we love MMA who made a positive impact on it. And today's one is none other than the Olympic wrestling champion, the Olympian, the Hall of Famer, the two division champion, Daniel DC Cormier. When you talk about the ultimate competitor, crushed it in college wrestling, went to the Olympics, got bronze, went to Strikeforce, took over, and like really had a phenomenal run. Got into the UFC, had one of the most legendary rivalries, probably the most legendary rivalry with the greatest fighter of all time, John Jones, and then had another tremendous rivalry with the greatest heavyweight of all time in Stipe Miocic. Because when you look at it, right, I think people often miss this, but outside of John Jones, like Daniel Cormier is, if not, he's one of the nine light double two division champions, double champions. And then outside of John Jones and Stipe, DC never lost. That's how good DC was. So not only did he win the Olympics, became a Strikeforce champion, went to the UFC, became a UFC champion, then moved up another weight class, and then became the heavyweight champion, and then went on from there to go into the Hall of Fame. And then from there, now he's doing the UFC, he's on the desk, he's doing the commentary, he's UFC analyst for the ESPN. And then on top of all, he runs one of the best MMA shows, Good Guy, Bad Guy, with the original bad guy, the Chael Sonnen, he's also going to be, him and Chael are going to be coaching against each other on The Ultimate Fighter. And then on top of all that stuff he does, he coaches youth wrestling. And that's pretty epic, training the next generation of wrestlers to be as great as he is / was in his prime. And I think that's so dope. And then they're also crushing it. They're doing amazing. Like, he's taken this youth wrestling team and made them like champions. That's so dope. And like, I think that's so cool that he's after a phenomenal career going back into the community and like helping the next generation achieve their dreams. I think that's really dope. That's awesome. So now we can hit the music this time for sure.
Okay. I'll add one more note then.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just give a quick rundown of some of the names that DC beat in his Hall of Fame guaranteed career. Josh Barnett in Strikeforce for the championship, Frank Mir in the UFC, Dan Henderson, Anthony Rumble Johnson, Alexander Gustafsson, Anderson Silva, well, that was a draw technically, but you could argue. Anyway, Volkan Uzunamir, Stipe Miocic, Derek Lewis.
Stipe.
Yeah, it's so, again, take away Stipe, take away John Jones, Daniel Cormier is a completely undefeated, legendary, mythical fighter.
Yeah.
Whose only shortcomings were at Olympic wrestling, which is arguably the hardest sport on the planet.
Absolutely. And a fellow wrestler, so hey, right? And then, again, the only people who could compete with him was the greatest heavyweight of all time and the greatest fighter to ever walk the earth. Those are the only two people who could compete with him. Everyone else got washed. So that just shows how much of a legendary mythical fighter he is.
So all the young guns, stop playing with DC. Stop playing
on DC.
Talk trash and get in his face. Stop thinking you could come talk trash and get in his face. Jake Paul, it's Buckley was starting stuff like.
Mm-hmm.
If DC's back will hold up, he'll handle you.
Absolutely, yo. Put some respect on DC's name, yo. And so, yes, that is our show. if you could hit that music one last time for us, this time for certain. We appreciate y'all coming by and joining us. Like, subscribe, share all the stuff. We appreciate y'all. Come back next time as we break down the UFC 312 fights, our review, and looking forward to the next one that's coming up. Alex Pereira versus Uncle Life for the light heavyweight championship. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a great time. And yeah, join us on the road to 1,000 subscribers. 5 ways. Come for the fights, stay for the vibes. See y'all.